All right, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. Today we're going to go back to basics again. I've been trying to do that for Thursday evenings, especially with the new agents we've had join us recently. And we're just going to talk about loading our listings online. So I'm going to go into Stratus MLS today, but I'm also going to talk about how to load a good listing. How do we just load it without the boring details to help push the sale? So I'm going to go first to the let me let Saraf in there. Let me go back to the basics and we'll go to Stratus first and talk about how to load a listing. So I'm just going to share my screen here. When you log in, and I didn't finish logging in there. 1 second. Oh, there we go. Of course, it wants to give me an error message. Let's try that again. Now, some of you haven't got your login info in that, and you don't know what this looks like. Basically, you're going to get these passwords. When you log in to your screen, which hopefully it'll do there, you go to the home page. Okay. You can go to the search properties over here. It's going to bring up your bar here on the left-hand side. Let me just highlight my mouse here so it's easy for everybody online to see as well. Okay. So you've got your bar here and you see this part that says add edit. Okay, a lot of you are going to click on it, and if you guys try to do this on your own, you're going to see that you don't have the capability of doing it. So you're liable for a lot of the information and stuff you put in your listings. If you're brand new and you need to get a listing loaded quickly, it's probably best to give it to the girls at the front if you're not quite sure what you're doing. Or if you want to go through it together, you're welcome to come in the office. We'll open up this for you and we can help you, show you how to load it properly, but you have to be careful, right, when you're loading. So a lot of you, if you go and you try to click the add edit, it's not going to load. But I want to go through it this way because I want to go through the different parts where you get the information from and what certain sections of it need. So we'll just pretend that we're loading a residential freeholds for sale. And we'll click continue. Okay. So I'm going to fill out fields here manually. Normally, when you're preparing for your listing appointment, you have the paperwork that you're going to do and you're going to get your client to sign it. The MLS data sheet will directly push to this form, which is a great function, which is why I really want to teach you guys over and over again how to load your listings, how to take care of them, how to edit them. It's important so you can have that because, you know, it's really easy to just push the information and you're already filling out the MLS data sheet for your clients, right? So we'll just go over through all the fields filled out with blue or mandatory fields. So your listing will not load because as per TREB, those have to be filled out in order for you to load your listing, right? So we'll pretend this one is in Toronto, right? And I always do around the office, E04, Dorset Park, see, Dorset Park, okay? And we'll just pretend we're doing the 123 Main Street. So it's pretty basic information at the beginning. Street. It's down here somewhere on the pull down menu. And I don't know, we'll do the office postal code M1P2L5. Okay. So we're going to keep on saving our draft as we go along because you find when you come in here sometimes I keep on saying over and over again it glitches. I did a whole thumb to sign today to send to my client. As soon as I hit send, it decided to glitch on me today. So save as you go along. Authentisign is the only one you can't save as you go along, right? So do a quick save. So the next one you come to is fronting on north, south, east, west. So I like to go over this briefly all the time with everyone because I find that it's a question I get asked very often. How do I figure out what it's fronting on? And a lot of people get it confused. So I'm just going to go over here to the maps. Okay. And we're going to pretend that it's the brokerage we're listing on 286 Kennedy Road. Okay. And I don't know if you guys know, the compass is always north, facing the top of the map, right? So north, east, south, west. We used to remember it, never eat shredded wheat, right? So this being north, you can see our brokerage is on the west side of the street. Okay, so it's fronting on the west side of the street. A lot of people get confused because they feel like this is, if the front door of our brokerage was the front door of a house, they'd say, but I'm facing east, but that doesn't mean you're fronting on the east. You're fronting on the west side of the property, right? So we'll go back to our listing here and we're going to put lot fronting on the west. Okay. The legal description is the next thing you should be checking. If you are looking at a previous listing, be really careful. A lot of agents abbreviate if it's too long a legal description, or you know, they might have typed in something wrong. And you have to remember that every time you're loading, you have to do your due diligence when you're creating a listing, creating an offer. So where do you find the legal description? There are two places in our Stratus. Okay, so I'm just going to go back here so I can get my menu on the left-hand side. And you can go to, on your left-hand side, you can either go to Geo Warehouse or Public Records. Do you want to turn the light off there so you can see a little bit better? Is it hard to see? Yeah, flick off the, can you flick off the light for me right there? Sorry. The light, yeah, then you can see a little better on the screen. Okay, sorry, I have agents in the office that can't see. So you can go to Public Records or you can go to Geo Warehouse here, okay? So Public Records will give you the legal description. I'm just going to click on it and show you what it looks like. And I wonder, I've never actually looked at the brokerage on this, so we'll see what it says here for this. Okay, so it comes up there 1286. Okay, and your legal description comes up here. I don't know if you guys can see my highlight when I do it, but see, that's the legal description. Part lot 29, concession 1, Scarborough as in, right? So you're going to have to copy and paste that whole thing. So I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to copy paste that whole thing. Okay. And this is not too long, so we'll see if it fits. You got to make sure when you copy and you paste, you go back and SCS24 is the last bit. SCS24. So this is a prime example how it's not fitting. Okay, you should be putting the whole legal description in the very basic your offer, but for other people offering to you so you don't lose it. So if your legal description doesn't fit, I encourage you to put it somewhere in the broker remarks so the other agent can pick it up. Very often I add it to the Schedule B, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But you have to make sure you're including the whole legal description, right? This is the assessment role legal description, but for the purchase of a property, the lawyer needs the whole legal description. So there's no dispute about what the property is that you're purchasing. I'm just going to go over here into Geo Warehouse now and show you that same thing. So you can see that where you find the legal description for the property. Just type in the brokerage address there again. Go to property report. And you'll see the legal description is there as well. So part lot 29, concession 1, the same thing, right? And if I copy and paste this, I'm sure it would cut it off as well when you're loading the listing. If you forget when you're loading or you're where to find these things, we'll go over it again and again. I try to sort of pull where you find things in different training sessions, not just for this. So you keep on repeating it, like how to get the fronting, where the property's fronting on, how to get the legal description, how to get who's on title, right? So the lot front, yes.
Sorry to stop you. The municipality that the location Toronto EO4, like what is the quick way like you keep track of those numbers and which city?
That is an excellent question. Perfect question. Okay, so if you're not sure and your client calls you and they say, hey, I have a property at 123 Main Street, and you know I want you to do a CMA or list my property. How do you find where are they? What the district code is? At the left bar menu here in our Stratus. You go down to the bottom and you can see they have Treb Map and Treb Maps PDF. So if you go to Treb Map, it is a searchable function. The PDF will just bring up the whole thing. I don't know if you want to print it or save it somewhere, but you can go to this map function. And again, we're just going to type in the brokerage address. Now, I know this was kind of glitchy when I was training new agents the last couple of times. Our brokerage address wasn't coming up, but let's hope it does. Nope, it didn't do it. Okay, it used to do it for me for training, but now it won't. So we're just going to type in how about our famous 50 Lewiston that wasn't selling my last 2 training sessions? Let's see where it is, because I know it's in and around the office and we used it the last couple training sessions. So 50 Lewiston is really close to unable to locate. It doesn't want to cooperate with me today. Let's see. Let's think of a real address here. I don't know, 26 Pegasus. Let's see where that is. Should be, oh, see, the map function doesn't want to work. Okay, it's too bad it's not working right now. Sometimes, like I say, Scratchshot is glitchy, but you can type in the actual address here. Okay, and I was just going to show you with an address, but hopefully the other functions will still work. When you click on municipalities, you can see it brings up our TREB map. Okay, so this is how you start to learn your codes, right? So you can see everything's around Brampton, Mississauga, Richmond Hill, but you can zoom in on Toronto and you can see the different, whoopsie, don't want me to zoom in that much. You can see the different codes. So you know all the W's are the West End of Toronto, like Etobicoke. Down here, the C's are downtown. Up here, North York. E123 tends to be East York. Anything E4 to E11 is Scarborough. And so you're gonna start to learn. So imagine I had typed in the address and it worked. I don't know why that function's not working in the last at least week and a half since I've been training individually with others, because it's usually the way I show how to learn the district codes. It would bring us in here to EO4. Okay, and I know we're EO4 Dorset Park because our brokerages say about, I don't know, let's just imagine it's about here. Okay, you can go then click further and you can click on communities and it breaks the map down even further for you. So you can see EO4, right? And then the neighborhood is Dorset Park. Okay, and our brokerage falls right in this. I'll try searching one more time to see if it'll bring it in for us, just so you can see.
Christy,
Yeah.
just let me know when you're finished. I have a question.
No, I'm pretty much done now. Do you have a question about this? Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm unable to find the specific condo unit in a condo building in Geo Warehouse. So what are some like good resources? Because like when you look on the internet, the problem is there's too many resources and then you don't know which one to trust.
So you're going into Geo Warehouse or property, sorry, or property line.
Okay, so I guess you just go off the property line.
No, are you going into Geo Warehouse? What do you mean you can't find the specific unit? Like for the legal description and everything?
Yeah. So when you go into like when you're selling like condos and stuff, it
is difficult. I know. I'll give you a quick answer to that. This system is really particular. It's kind of like one of those things when you're typing in a password, if you put a dash or it's not capital or something, you're not going to find it. So I start big first. So what I would do is I would type 60, for instance, is my listing I just had 60 Fairfax, right? Don't put in Crescent because you don't know whether it says CRES, whether it put the whole Crescent, whatever, however they've entered it in the system, right? I'm just trying to move this bar out of my way. Okay, so you see how it's specifically put here 60 Fairfax Crescent. Now it's got these weird brackets. It's not even like a regular bracket, right? Suite 105. So if I'm looking for a specific one, I can scroll through this list, but some buildings have hundreds and hundreds. But now I know how they filed this one in MPAC. So I'm going to go Crest, whoops, right? And then I'm going to put these weird brackets in. Whoopsie, it's this one, right? 105.
I think it's at suite first.
Oh, did it? Okay, hold on. I've got to move this bar out of my way. I've got all the Zoom stuff in front of me. Okay. But basically you get the gist of it. It's got to be so specific with this.
If you, what happens? I just want to see what happens if you put a unit number in.
Yeah.
Like just put 105 or something.
Fairfax. Crest.
So it doesn't, I just meant, it doesn't work if you put in the unit number below.
So you can, but a lot of this here, I'll try that because it's not coming up this way. I don't know if it'll type it in, but this is normally how I find it because like I find like if I put in just one little thing off, it doesn't search. Oops.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Okay, I see what you mean. I never really tried.
Yeah, and then Geo Warehouse is the same, right? When you click back on Geo Warehouse, there you go. It's coming back on now. Did I close Geo? Yeah, I must have closed Geo. Okay, so we'll go back to Geo Warehouse here. We'll just do 60 Fairfax, right? And when you click on it, it's going to bring up a whole bunch of things like this, right? And you see the unit number comes before. So in this case, I wouldn't put the brackets. That's how it once said I want unit 105, was it? I'm gonna put it that
Yeah.
way. And see there, it found me unit 105 now. Because sometimes I put you might type in 60 Fairfax, comma 105, because that's how you normally type in
Right,
your address.
I know.
It's not going to pull it up like that. It's annoying. You have to kind of just pull up the whole building. I find just type in the building address and you see how they filed it. And if you're like a period or like a, you know, a bracket or a dash off, it won't pull up the address. It's annoying. So you have to specifically type it in, then you can go in and look at that property report there.
Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of trial and error.
Yeah, exactly.
you.
Like I say,
Yeah.
start big, type in the whole building first. That's the way I do it. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. So we'll go back to this now. I don't know, can you guys still see my share there? Yep. Okay, I'm still on share. So we're gonna go back and lot front, lot depth. How do we get into that? I'm just gonna go a little quicker here because I want to get into some other stuff. So geo, let me go back to this address. Now I searched that. So let's go back to our good old 50 Lewiston that we were working on the last 2-3 training sessions. It's so funny how that hasn't sold. You know, I know that I've been doing so much training. You usually go in and you see that everything's been selling so quickly. It's odd to actually see something that's been sitting for a while now. Okay, so oopsie, did I not click on it? 50 Lewiston. Okay, so lot front, lot depth. Okay, you're going to go into the property report. Okay, and just where you were looking at the legal description above it here, you see 39.99 and 125. Okay, your other resource for that is the MPAC that we were looking at. So 50 Lewiston. Oops, I typed under the unit. Sorry. Pardon me. Lewiston, it should come up there. I very rarely put street, road, whatever, because again, I don't know how they've abbreviated it. So here you go, 50 Lewiston, and you can see that the, pardon me, I have a tickle. The frontage is 40 and the depth is 120. So what did this say? I think Geo Warehouse said 3.99, right? Either or is fine. It's not incorrect as long as you can prove, if God forbid you ever have an issue with RICO or TREB with your listing that's been loaded, they might say, where did you get that frontage and depth from? If you put 3.99, or if you decided to round up to 40, and they go, where did you get that from? And you check both MPAC and Geo Warehouse and it says 39.99, you'll get into trouble for differences like that. So as long as you can prove that you did your due diligence and you checked either or, you'll be fine. You can say, no, I know property line says that, but Geo Warehouse says 3.99. So I know it's correct. It's fine. Right. So we'll get back to the listing. So that's lot front, lot depth. Make sure your code is there. Feet, meters is very, very important, especially if people are looking to build on the lot after the fact. Yes.
So the Geo Warehouse also tells the price of the cottage.
The price, so the Geo Warehouse here, it tells you the last sale amount and the assessed value. If you're looking, pardon?
I just said it also tells the value, the exact value of.
It doesn't tell you the exact value. So this is the city assessed value. So it's generally the lowest, which you want it to be, because that's what you're taxed on. Sometimes that always doesn't match market value. Very often you'll find it's under what the market value is, what things are selling for. I find it kind of goes assessed value by the city. Then the bank appraisal is usually in and around there, maybe a little bit more, because the bank also, you know, wants to be modest with their appraisal, as we know. And then the actual market values tends to be the highest. So I wouldn't look at this and tell my client their house is worth $556,000, especially because you have to be knowledgeable and see that this is 2022, right? If you go into property line, you'll see that, okay, for instance, this one is the same property, 556 is their assessed value, right? So for some reason, in 2016, it was 376, then 421, then 466 and 511. During time while COVID hit, our assessed value stayed the same. They didn't increase them because the city didn't want us, well, I guess they were being nice. I'm sure they'll catch up quickly now. But they did increase our assessed values. MPAC stayed the same, right, during COVID. So it wouldn't reflect what the sales were doing now recently because the sales have jumped way higher. Like I'm sure if you went to this person and you told them their house was worth 556, they probably have a heart attack because it's probably closer to $1 million that is going to sell, right? This property that we're using.
It's just the idea, like, this area, it's kind of price, right?
It's not a good place to look for value. No.
No, I'm not looking for that.
Oh,
It's just, like, it just gives us the idea that, like, this price, this area price is like this, from starting price.
no, I wouldn't even say it's a starting price for that area. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we go over and like you're preparing for your listing appointments and doing your CMA. Right now, we're just talking about loading like I guess factual things that MLS wants us to load up for the public to view for the listing, right? But when you're coming to like a pricing value, you have to use a different strategy. You can't go and check in MPAC or Geo Warehouse. I wouldn't do that. There's a way better way. This is way off what the market value would be. Okay. Yes.
I guess impact is only the city uses to assess your taxes.
Yeah.
And it goes up by a certain amount year by year. And it just solely used to assess your taxes by the city.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And that's why I'm like, you want that value to be low because they're taxing you on it, right? You don't want them to say, oh yeah, you're selling for $1 million and I'm taxing you on $1 million, right? You're happy that, you know, yearly you're getting taxed on 556 and it's holding for a couple of years during COVID, right? So, okay, so we'll go back here. And directions, cross streets, you use what you want to use, whatever you think will sell. You can't lie if you know, I don't know, I'm just spitting out there, if you know Kennedy and Ellesmere is a bad area and Kennedy and Eglinton is better, you can't say one versus the other. But here I think, you know, where the offices were pretty center, you could say, I mean, we're closer to Ellesmere, I think, but you could say Kennedy and Ellesmere, Kennedy and Lawrence, right? Whatever you want to just give them as a main intersection, right? List price, fine, no problem. You're going to come to that when you do your pricing, when you do your valuation. The taxes usually at the beginning of the year, they'll allow you to use last year. Right now, I think they're going to put a bigger push. You might get flagged if you put last year's because we're halfway through the year. Everybody's gotten their tax bill, or at least their interim one. But you're looking for the most updated one, and has to be the right value, because it will not allow you to put in an old year. And if your taxes are really off or wrong, TREB will send you an email, right? So you want to ask your client for their actual tax bill. It has to be accurate information because people are basing that whether or not they can afford this property, right? As we know, yearly taxes here are half of what they are in Durham. That might affect your purchasing power of your buyer if they have to pay $5,000 tax a year versus like $2,500, right? It might affect what they want to pay. Contract commencement. So when we sign the document, and I'll go over this again with listing paperwork, the commencement and the document date can be two different dates. I know it's really confusing for everybody, right? So if I'm getting you to sign your paperwork today, but you don't want to list till Saturday, well, your paperwork, the commencement date will say Saturday. The only issue is it'll come up red while you're doing it. Why is it coming up red? Because I can't load a listing that can't be shown until Saturday. So it won't let me put a date in the future. But this isn't going to get loaded for another 2 days. And I just want to work on my listing. I want to edit my verbiage and stuff I'm going to put. That red will turn to black once you get to Saturday. Okay. But if your client has signed that you have to load on Saturday, you have to load on Saturday, right? I think you only have a 24-hour window within that commencement date that you have to load your listing, right? The expiry date, again, you're going to put whatever you put in your document. If you're just signing longer than 6 months, you have to get your client to sign it, right? Possession date and possession remarks. So you need an either or. So very often if I put a specific date in here, like tomorrow, great, no problem. I'm going to go past and let me pass the remarks part. If this isn't filled out, the remarks have to be filled out. See, they both light up at the same time. They interact with each other. So you either have to put a specific date or you have to put something like to be determined, you know, TBD, to be announced, immediate, whatever you want to put in that spot to let the public know what kind of closing date you're looking for. Holdover days is as per your contract. Okay, we'll talk about holdover days later. I just want to get through the listing right now. The seller and landlord name. Okay, again, another spot you have to pause and do your due diligence. You have to sign your paperwork properly. So you should have already done this for your listing appointment if you're at the point of loading your listing.
I'm sorry,
But-
Christine.
Yes.
So for the possession date, is the like the when it's going to be listed, or like will be like when the
Close,
earliest?
what kind of closing date your client is looking for,
Okay,
right? So if your client has to have May 1st, because that's their closing for another property they purchased, you could put May 1st there. If they're flexible, you could put in the remarks flexible. If they're in a rush, you could put immediate, say it's vacant and they don't want to pay for it anymore, right? You put immediate in the remarks, whatever they're looking for a closing date.
So basically, normally we don't put the possession date like to be determined. That's the normal way, right? Like
Yeah, if your client says, I don't know, whenever, I'm pretty
Yeah.
flexible, I'd put to be determined, right?
Okay.
Or to be announced, TBA is acceptable too.
okay,
So the seller landlord name, you go and check that in Geo Warehouse. That's something that's not available in Property Line. So you have to make sure that both Nada and Kiri, both these guys here at 50 Lewiston are on as the sellers in this spot. I'm going to stop filling out just to save some time. So I want to get through it all, but you're going to make sure that both their names are here because that's what has to be on the offer document. So you have to let, the buyer agents know that that's what they have to fill out. Again, all of this is pretty standard now from here for a little bit. This is the descriptions of the property. So you're going to make sure that you have the right description. So I'm going to say that it's a detached. I'm going to say it's a bungalow. What is the outside? It allows you to pick two, right? So say I want brick, I can pick brick, and then I can go down and say part of it's stucco or vinyl siding, let's say, because it's right there. I'm going to hold control down and click vinyl siding. So you can see the brick and siding are both picked. For my listing, it only allows you to pick two of max though. You can just choose one if it's all brick. Garage type, so attached, built-in, whatever it is. So we'll say this one's an attached. Here's another spot where I see a common error. We're gonna say there's one space in the garage and the driveway is private. Okay, and the driveway spaces are 2, okay? Here in the total parking spaces, now we're gonna put 3. Why? Because there's 1 parking space in the garage and 2 in the driveway. So if somebody's looking online, you can hurt your listing really badly by little minor mistakes like this. If someone says, I've got my work truck and my wife's car and my daughter's car, and this place looks great online, but they only have 2 parking spots, right? They might bypass your listing and not come and view it, right? So it's really important, these kind of things. It's minor details that can hurt your listing. So total parking spots 3, okay? Pool, whether or not there's a pool, we're gonna say it doesn't have one. Water, again, know your product, but most of the time when we're working in the city, we're working on municipal, right? And we're working on sewers. But don't just say, oh, I'm in Whitby. Of course, it has to be municipal sewers. Whitby's a really big city, right? There's a lot of places in Whitby, Pickering, Oshawa that are on sewer, well and septic and not on municipal sewer. So know your product and don't just assume, because again, you can get into trouble for it. And then special description. So this allows you to say whether or not it's heritage, land lease, whatever you want to know. 99% of the time we're putting unknown in the city, unless it happens to be a heritage home, century home, something like that, right? All of these are not mandatory, but if you know them, it doesn't hurt to put them in, right? So water supply types, is it waterfront? Is it for zone farm agriculture? Depending where you are, but most of the time, again, in the city, we're not doing that. Under the heading waterfront, we won't worry about that too much because we're only going to click off that if we're selling a cottage or something on the waterfront. The interior. So the interior is, again, something that confuses a lot of people. So I see people that I'm helping, new agents, and not even new agents. Some people don't understand when they're trying to load their listing themselves, and they'll say, I'm selling a 3-bedroom house, and they'll put 3 rooms here. It's incorrect. So they're looking for how many rooms. So what they want to know is on the main and upper floor, if there's a second story, how many rooms are in the property? So you're counting kitchen, living, dining, right? We'll imagine this is a 3-bedroom, 1, 2, 3 bedroom. So we're going to say 6, right? For this property. If you had an additional family room, you'd say 7. Or if you had a sunken living room off to the side, 7. If you had a sunroom addition on it, you could say 7 on, like, you know, because I'm adding a room here. Right now for simplicity, I'll use say 6. And plus, what's in the basement here now? So I'm going to say I have a 2-bedroom apartment in the basement. So 1, 2, and I have a kitchen and I have a living room, but I don't have a dining room downstairs with enough. No formal, you don't really see that often with a dining room in the basement apartment, right? So 2 bedrooms, kitchen, and a living room. So we'll say 6 plus 4. Okay. Here is where I'm going to put the bedrooms now. So I said my upstairs was 3 and my downstairs had 2 bedrooms. And I'm assuming because I have a basement apartment, I have 1 kitchen plus 1 kitchen. Okay. Everybody got follow that so far? I find the numbers is confused. You just got to think it through and it'll be fine. The washrooms you have to itemize. So again, we'll go over, there's a 1, 2 piece on, oopsie, I tabbed too fast there. 1, 2 piece on the main. What does that mean? I have a powder room on my main. I have a toilet and I have a sink. Okay. Then I'm going to say in my basement apartment, there's 1, 3 piece in the basement. What does that mean? I have a toilet, a sink, and a shower, right? Stand-up shower. I'm going to have 1 4 piece on the main floor that everybody shares because that has a toilet, a sink, a bathtub with a shower in it, right? Then I can go on to additional pieces, which are getting into fancier washrooms. Usually when you see a separate corner tub with, you know, the shower and everything, maybe you have a jacuzzi, not a jacuzzi, a jet tub or something like that. And there you can go more pieces, but generally you're using 2, 3, and 4 pieces, right? Does it have a fireplace or stove? Yes or no? Okay. Heat source, again, in the city, but be mindful, most of the time we're gas forced air, but there are a lot of homes that haven't converted. So I grew up in Scarborough with electric until, you know, I was a pretty early teen, and then they converted over to forced air gas. So know your product. If you're selling a lot in Scarborough, make sure you check and don't just come and load the listing. When you're walking through the house, I kind of just make notes to myself. I bring like a blank MLS sheet with me. Because even if you're going to fill out later and have your client sign, or if you're signing right there, fine. But I jot down notes. Oh, electric. Oh, okay. Is it oil radiance? I don't know. Like there's different types depending on what's the age of the home you're working in. But most of the time we find now that a lot of people upgraded gas forced air. If you're unsure of the type of heating, because there's some funny ones out there, just let me know.
What is baseboard heating?
Baseboard heating is like this right here. Actually, we have one in the office. I don't even know why. You see this? This is a baseboard heating. So I'm assuming this doesn't have a coil in it. I don't think that I can see. So just assuming, and I would verify with my client, there's 2 types of baseboard heating. There's electric, which is you want to be able to tell your clients knowledgeably, with knowledge, that baseboard heating electric can be quite expensive, right? That's what tipped my father off in the end to switch over to gas forced air. He was going to bite the bullet and put the 10, 15 grand in or whatever it was back in the day, because this is quite expensive. It's on your hydro bill, right? The other type of baseboard heating you can have is a water system. That's more of a radiant system. So you have a boiler in your basement and there's like a tube that runs through it with warm water, and it'll warm up that unit and emit heat, like a radiant heat kind of thing. Right? But that's baseboard heating for sure. AC, again, different types of AC. Is there central air? Is it a wall unit? Is it a window unit? Depending, most of the time we're seeing central air, especially if they put the gas forced air in unit, they're blowing it through the vents, meaning it's a central air system. Okay. Now the measurements. I got to say, in my, last 10 years of training and helping people when they get their TREB and RICO complaints, this is one of the most common things that gets people into trouble. They either take the measurements off of the last listing, or they're taking it off an unreliable source. Like maybe their client goes, oh yeah, no, my living room is 20 by 40. And you put 20 by 40. It's up to you to put in the right information. Grab yourself a laser measure. They're super easy. They're not that expensive. And you measure your room. Okay. So generally what I like to do, I'm kind of OCD. So I'll go and I'll measure most of the house just to be sure. But if you're using a last listing, I at the very least will measure a room or two to see if those measurements are close to what the previous listing had. right? Or close to what my client's telling me the room sizes are, because you want to make sure you put in accurate information. I know that there was like so many complaints when people say, you know, hey, I wanted to take this wall down, or I wanted to fit my my furniture in here, and there was the wrong information in this listing, and now I can't, so I want the agent to compensate me, right? There's different reasons that they need that, to know that information, and they can come back on you for that. Okay.
So it is important to list the.
Yeah, and so what we do is we load in metric. So you're going to load in meters, which is another good reason to have that laser measure, because it converts meters to feet for you. You can do it in meters. You load your listing in meters. When people look at it at realtor.ca, the default for them is feet. It converts it automatically. They can look at it in meters, but they want us to load our listings in meters. So we're always measuring in meters. Yeah. Okay. So then again, here you have a little opportunity to tell a little bit about the rooms. After the length and the width, you can put in different things like whether it has ensuite, walk-in closets, granite counters, you know, quartz countertops, you know, different, there's a whole whack load of stuff in there. You guys can peruse it and look and put in as much description as you can, because you're trying to entice people off that listing online to bring people to come see your listing. You want the traffic, so you want to go in and select different descriptions and try and put it in, right? Remarks to clients. So this is where you're going to get, and I'm going to run out of time a little bit. I probably do a load of great listing. Again, in a short couple of weeks, probably I'll do it. Because this is where you want to really work on things. So some of the quick tips that I can remember off of that is that you don't want to necessarily repeat stuff that's in the beginning of your listing. So if it's a 3+1 bedroom, you don't necessarily want to say 3+1 bedroom. You know, you want to put features that you aren't in there that you want to add. So you want to say, you know, steam shower and sauna in the basement. We don't have room to necessarily put these room dimensions and descriptions and extras that are in the house. So again, draw people in by saying that. Extras, you want to put in what's in the property. So stainless steel appliances, all window coverings. Here you might put an exclusion saying chandelier and dining room excluded, something to that effect. And you cannot, again, I caution people, I've seen a lot of people say, call listing agent for more details, and they give their information. You are not allowed to do that, because you're not allowed to bias people, the public, to call you, and versus their agent that they might have, even though most of the time you get called off of your listing for additional information. So please keep your name, your number, your information out of here. Okay. Under remarks for brokerages, this is where you can put things like, don't let the cat out, lockbox or easy showing. I'm doing an offer date on this date. Please see my Schedule B. Please attach my disclosure with your offer. Remarks that you want other agents to see, because the public isn't going to see this section. So when they go on realtor.ca, they cannot see the remarks for the brokerage. Okay. You're going to enter in the listing broker. So our information, if you're the listing agent, the listing brokerage phone number, and our fax.
Sorry, Christine. The remarks are only the agent can see, right?
The remarks for brokerages only agents can see.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you go on realtor.ca and compare it, just pull up a listing on Stratus and pull up that same listing on realtor.ca, and you'll see the differences. What information do we have? So I always say, like, what do we know above and beyond our clients? So we'll know if there's a bid date on here, if the listing agent has put it on there. Only other agents can see when we log into Stratus.
Okay.
Yeah. So here you're going to put our brokerage phone or fax, your name, your phone number, the co-op commission that we're offering for the cooperating brokerage. And here's where we get a little confused again. So seller property information sheet. What is that? It's an information sheet, and it's available there in web forms, and we can have our client fill it out and sign it. And we can load it with our listings, or we can make it available to the public. I caution you, though, I don't do it as a regular practice, because it could also get you into a little bit of trouble. Because what if your client forgets something or omits something and you're not aware of it, and they can come back on you for it. It's a good thing to pull, though. Just don't get your client to sign it, so you have to load it with your listing. It's a good thing to pull, because it's a good tool when you're at your listing appointment to go, oh, when was the roof last done? Oh, when did you upgrade the furnace? What kind of wiring is it? Aluminum or is it copper? You know, it's a good kind of thing to remind you. It's like a good checklist to talk over your client to find out the details of the property. I don't know. I'm not a fan of loading it with my listing. And then this one, distribute to DDF IDX. What is this? What are we getting our client to sign? So if you, most of the time it's yes, because there's good exposure. So what this means is different people like Zillow, House Sigma, all of these places, they subscribe to a portal on the TREB system, okay? And TREB will then automatically filter it out to their websites because they subscribe to DDF IDX, right? If your client says, you know, I had a client who was really mad because Zillow or one of them, I forgot, those years ago, had really underpriced the property. And she says, oh my God, I did a Google search of my property and it says, I don't know, it was worth $550 and we're trying to get $650. Take it down. Right. And I was like, oh, okay. So what you do is you run into this with your clients, or if they don't want their property shown on any of those, you would click no here at this part. Okay. Distribute to internet portals. So same again, whatever it filters out to those systems, it'll display on the internet. Permission, or sorry, let's do the address first. Display address on the internet. You can choose just to have a picture and the description of the property and not actually display the address on the internet. Maybe somebody doesn't want their information out there for whatever reason. I don't know, but the address again is something that's important. So like, unless your client has a really good reason they don't want to, it's going to push it because people are looking in certain neighborhoods and pockets and they might help them, you know, so it might help them bring traffic to their listing. And then the last one here, permission to contact listing brokerage to advertise, yes or no? What are you going to click? So basically they changed the verbiage of this over the years. It just used to say permission to advertise, yes or no. Okay. So if you click yes, you just automatically gave other agents permission to advertise your listing. Why would another agent want to advertise your listing? Because they want to help pick up buyers, right? So some agents don't like that. Some agents go, no, I don't want other people like advertising my listing. I don't want them picking up my buyers. Some agents don't mind. I don't mind. I usually always click, yeah, they can advertise because I think it's good exposure for my clients. I want exposure. I want lots of people through the door. I want, you know, more offers than less traffic and less offers, right? This verbiage changed over the years because permission to advertise just meant any agent could go in and advertise. Oh, it's clicked yes and create an ad. But maybe some clients were getting upset and some agents are getting upset at the way the property was advertised. Maybe you misrepresented something or you did a poor job of it and it was hurting in some way. So now they changed to say permission to contact listing brokerage to advertise. Why did they do that? If I click no, don't call me because I'm not letting anybody advertise my listing. If I click yes, you have to send it in writing to me. So you as an agent, if you want to advertise other people's listings, you have to do the same thing. This tells me in writing, either a text or an email, that I give you permission to advertise. I have at that opportunity to say, you know what? Yes, please advertise, but be mindful that my client doesn't want to say it's an estate sale, because they feel it'll hurt their listing. So if you go and you say estate sale, right? Because another part of private information is when the listing's up, they can't see who the seller is, right? Online on realtor.ca, when you go in, it doesn't say John Smith or the estate of Jane Smith is selling, right? That's private information to us as realtors because we need that information to drop offers, right? But say your client, I'm the daughter of somebody, you know, a parent of mine has passed away and it's an estate sale, but I'm going to say, you know what? I don't want you to say it's an estate sale. And that's between me and my realtor. And because I feel it's going to hurt my sale, people are going to come in and lowball me. And I really don't want that. And then you go and advertise and you say estate sale and she sees it on the internet somewhere, right? So it's at that point when they contact you to advertise your listing, you have to express to that other agent, if you're giving them permission, how your client wants it advertised or how you want it advertised, right? So that's what the yes or no here is about in long and short. And then the occupancy. Occupancy is also private information. It's not available to people online. So they don't know if the property is vacant or owner or tenant or what. That's private information for us. Partly for info, but partly for our safety too. Partly so we know how we have to book appointments. So, you know, owner occupied is fine because most of the time they're leaving the property. Vacant, you know, you found back in the day when I'm kicking an old school realtor that, you know, that was when if there was some incidents going to happen, you know, people would book for vacant properties specifically if they knew it was vacant. Tenant, we know we have to give 24 hours permission or 24 hours notice to get permission to enter the property. And then contact after expired. So I don't know why you would say yes ever, because you don't want anybody contacting your client, but they have to sign. So if they're saying, well, I don't mind if people call me, fine, it's kind of crazy, but it's like a little do not call list. So if the listing terminates or expires or sells, a lot of times you find other agents, so there's scavengers out there are calling your client going, hey, I noticed your property just sold. Do you need help buying a property? I've got a perfect property for you. Want to come see it? And they try to steal that purchase end of your client. Or if they see it's terminated or expired, they try to get that listing, right? So I always put do not contact after expired. I encourage my clients. I've never had anybody disagree with me yet. I don't know, maybe you can find, let me know if you've ever heard of a story where a client said, yeah, no, it's okay if they, you know, 1,000 realtors come knocking on my door and call me after my listing is sold or expired, right? And then you have points here to put in virtual tour. It has to be unbranded. As per TREB, you're not allowed to brand yourself in your virtual tour. So you can make great videos with your name and everything on it. You can put it on your social media. You can put it, I don't know, on a television commercial, whatever you want to do. But here you have to have a non-branded. So most photographers know that. Most real estate photographers know that, and they comply and they give us an unbranded version of our virtual tour and a branded one, right? And then if you have any other things like sales brochures, additional pictures, fact sheets, map locations, sound bites, anything you want to put in here, they have some fun stuff you can load. Your pictures all get uploaded here. Once you load a bunch of them, you can order them just by dragging and pulling them. Here is the attachments. So if you're telling them there's a disclosure, you would go and you would pick it and use a pull down menu. When you load it, you can say whether it's a disclosure, whether it's a schedule, whether it's a floor plan, whether it's other additional information you're putting up with your listing. And then map. The map will just sort of show you where you're on the map. If it's wrong, you know, you can move the pin around, you can change things. It'll tell you if it can't find it on the map, right? And see here at the end of the listing, you can tell if you've done stuff wrong. When you hit submit, usually it won't let you hit submit if you've omitted a field that's mandatory that has a blue star beside it. If it's something that you've done wrong, like this, it says contract commencement must be a date no earlier than 5/21, right? So it's letting me know, hey, yours is a couple of days ahead. You can't load this listing yet. It won't let me if I hit submit. Yeah, and that is it so far. There's a whole lot of, I'm just gonna stop the share here and come back to you guys. What about oh, sorry, I'm just reading your question now, Saraf. I had this thing on. So yeah, there's a lot of things about loading your listing too that can enhance and increase traffic. So I know I've done a training session before on increasing traffic to your listing. Maybe that's what I'll do in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about it again. But if you're loading your listing, like I say, you won't have permission. The first time you're doing it, you'll have to come into the office and we'll walk you through it piece by piece. Even the second or third time you do it, I might encourage you, if you do it from home, to call me and say, I'm about to load it. You want to check it as soon as I load it if you're unsure about anything, because then I can read it. I can log into Stratus and read it and make sure that the information is correct. Or if you're unsure of anything, ask, because that is the most important thing. Even if the girls at the front load your listing and there's incorrect information, you are liable. So even if you give it to the office, log back in and look at your listing, check the information, make sure there's no mistakes, right? Because, you know, we're all human at the end of the day, but the thing is, it's your name on that listing. So you're the one it's going to come down to with a TREB or a RICO complaint, and that's what you're trying to avoid. So you have to be really, really careful. Okay. If you guys have any questions, you let me know and call me and I'll walk you through, book a time slot here with me and we can load your listings. All right. Did anybody have any questions? Everybody good?
Yeah.
I had a question.
Sure.
So, if you can't find like if you can't get like a status certificate for a listing,
Mhm.
can you still list it or?
No, because the lawyer will not close. The lawyer will not waive the status clause, but say even it's a firm deal, they will not close. So just because you're waiving the status clause, the lawyer still needs it at the time of close.
Okay.
And it has to be within 3 months, because generally the condo committee meets every 3 months and they do new financial statements and stuff of where they're at with the budget and how much they've used of the reserve fund, and how much this unit owes if it's outstanding on its maintenance fees, and it's specific to that condo unit, so you have to order it, you have to get it. Like I say, even if you don't need it, like I would get it ahead of time for a bidding war anyway, so I have it on time if anybody asks me for it. But if everybody gave me a firm deal and I didn't have it on me, my client would still have to order it before close.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Everybody else good? Excellent, excellent. We're already at Thursday. It was a short week this week. I blinked and it went by, but anyways, I will see you guys on Tuesday morning for training again.
All right. Thank you, Christine.
No problem. Thank you, guys.